Hello, I'm Vic Machin and I am the Mental Health Advisory Teacher for the Mental Health Support Teams in West Sussex. I'd like to welcome you to our fifth session in this webinar series for parents of teenagers. Today's theme is supporting your teenager with low mood. In this session, we'll be looking at the difference between ordinary ups and downs and persistent low mood, and looking at ways that we can spot the signs. We will also help you to start conversations with your teenager about low mood and offer some suggestions about ways that you can help. As with some of the other sessions, we recognise that this session may bring up lots of feelings and it's okay to take time out if you need to. Everyone goes through cycles of emotion throughout their life. It is entirely normal for everyone to experience days when they feel sad, lonely and upset. This does not mean there is something wrong. It might not be particularly pleasant, but we can accept that these feelings are normal. However, when someone is feeling unhappy, unmotivated and withdrawn for several weeks, we may want to consider whether they need more support. Signs of persistent low mood might include not enjoying the things they previously enjoyed, sleeping too much or not being able to sleep, irritability, withdrawing from friends or family, or changes to their appetite. So whilst we remember that we all experience ups and downs in everyday life, and a bad or difficult week does not mean there's an underlying mental health problem, it can be helpful to talk to your children about how they can actually cope with these ups and downs. How might you support them if they're having a bad day or a bad week? What kind of things might you do with them or suggest they do? If you haven't already watched it, it can be helpful to look back at our second webinar in the series, Teenage Wellbeing, as this has lots of suggestions about ways you can support your teenagers' day-to-day well-being. For some people, on the other hand, low mood persists for some time. They stop enjoying the things they used to and withdraw from their friends and family. These young people need more support to help them get through. Getting good support is really important. I want you now to just spend a few minutes thinking about where would you go for support if you felt your teenager was struggling with low mood. You might think about your GP, school, or perhaps you know of other services. At the end of this webinar, I will signpost you to some other areas of support which you may find useful. But for now, I'd like you to move on to exploring the things that you as a parent can do if your teenager is having difficulties with feelings of sadness and demotivation. It can sometimes be hard to know what is typical teenage behaviour and what is a more concerning pattern of low mood. Generally, we look for changes to a teenager's patterns of behaviour. These can be broken down into psychological and physical symptoms such as the following. So the psychological symptoms might be things such as isolating, withdrawing from the friends and family. They might be sad or tearful, or anxious and worried. They might experience troubling thoughts. They might feel guilty. They might have a lack of interest in hobbies or schoolwork and feel demotivated. You might see that they have less confidence than they previously had. They might get easily frustrated or angry and irritated, and you might see signs of low self-esteem. Physical sensations of low mood can include aches and pains, an increase or decrease in appetite, either being extremely tired or sleeping too much or too little, headaches. They might be quieter in themselves, and some of them might start to self-harm. Remember that you know your teenager best, and it can often be a gut feeling which makes you think that they may be struggling. And sometimes it's important to explore that gut feeling and just sit down and have a chat with them. So actually thinking about what we can actually do can be a real challenge for parents, particularly if your teenager is pushing you away. The first thing that you may want to do is to go to one of the people you identified earlier, whether that is a teacher, your GP or a specialist service. However, we do know that there may well be some time to wait until they're able to get special support. So we need to think about what can be done in the meantime. To start with, it's important to maintain open communication with the young person. Let them know that you've noticed that they've not been themselves recently and that you would like to help them. Listen to what they say and use the empathy and validation techniques we talked about in the session on anger. If you haven't watched this, then it might be something useful. It's particularly important that you really listen to what they're saying. Give them time to express themselves, and be careful not to rush to try and fix the problem by saying things like, oh, you've got no reason to feel so down, you've got a great life, or to say you've got so much going for you. This isn't helpful at this stage. The difficult thing about low mood is that low mood feeds low mood, and it can become a cycle which is hard to break out of. Let's say your teenager is feeling that nothing is fun anymore. They don't try to have fun and do the things of their friends and family because it all just seems so pointless. These thoughts can make them feel a kind of despair, a feeling perhaps of being lost in the world, which leads to tearfulness, lethargy, demotivation, and even fear. The brain jumps to the worst conclusions in situations that makes them feel even less likely able to face the world with a positive outlook. These feelings go on to affect what they do and how they act. Teenagers struggling with low mood may become withdrawn, refuse to go out and simply stay in their rooms. Because they're not going out and experiencing the good bits of the world, this leads to the continued sense that there is no point in anything, that nothing is fun, and so the cycle continues. The idea then is for us to help them to break the cycle. The first thing to remember is to start small. This needs to be done in little tiny steps so that your teenager doesn't retreat even further into themselves. Don't put pressure on your teenagers to do lots of things, as this sets them up to fail and will increase those feelings of hopelessness and demotivation. Research has shown that key to improving mood lies in 3 areas: having a sense of achievement, feeling close to others, and gaining a sense of enjoyment. Therefore, focusing on activities which include one or more of these 3 things is a great way to break the cycle of low mood. So we can think about it as ACE: achievement, closeness, enjoyment. The idea is to find ways to build just a little bit of activity and interaction into your teenager's day, just something small, so that they can begin to gain a sense of achievement, closeness, and enjoyment. These things don't need to be big or impressive. Taking small steps is the best way to go about it. So in this example, the plan is made with the teenager to commit to just one activity each day. In this example, we can see that on Monday, the plan was to go for a walk. You could keep this really open, just go for a walk, or make it more detailed. So go for a 5-minute walk to the park and back. On Tuesday, the teenagers decided to aim to phone a friend or a grandparent or other family member. On Wednesday, they're going to help cook dinner. On Thursday, walk the dog. On Friday, pop to the shops with you. On Saturday, they're going to play one game with a younger sibling, and on Sunday, they're going to come downstairs to watch a family film. So have a quick think now about which of the ACEs, so achievement, closeness, and enjoyment, are covered by these activities. So on Monday, the walk, the teenager will be able to get a sense of achievement. Or closeness or enjoyment? Probably a sense of achievement. They might even enjoy it, and if they do it with someone else, it could be they get some closeness as well. Think about the other days. It's important to keep the achievement, closeness, and enjoyment in mind to ensure the activities are meaningful. Pause the video now so you can have a think about which of achievement, closeness, or enjoyment are covered by the activities in the table. Now let's take a closer look at achievement. What things did your teenager previously do which gave them a sense of achievement? Are they particularly good at sports or music? Did they get satisfaction from decorating their bedroom or cooking a meal? Or perhaps they created a really good YouTube video they're really proud of? Gaining a sense of achievement from the things that we do leads to higher life satisfaction, a sense of pride, and improved self-esteem. Remember how you feel when you finally manage to get the washing basket under control, when you find something you thought was lost. Can you think back to when you passed your driving test, or perhaps fixed a plug for the first time, or got that difficult phone call out of the way? We don't need to do big things to gain a sense of achievement. Have a think now about what could you help your teenagers to do or encourage them to do, which might give them a sense of achievement. Remember, we're starting small, so think about something achievable. We want to ensure that they're able to gain that positive feedback quickly and relatively easily. Pause the video now if you need to. Moving on now to closeness. People who are experiencing low mood often withdraw from other people. This can be for a number of reasons. It could be that their self-esteem is so low that they feel anxious around other people, think they're being judged or laughed at, or perhaps they're experiencing some guilt around their low mood and feel they may burden people if they spend time with them. Nevertheless, as humans, we are social creatures, and the importance of spending time with others, feeling close to them and sharing experiences with them is an important way to look after our well-being and general mental health. We know that as children become teenagers, their families, who were once the centre of their lives, begin to jostle for time and space with their peer group. But that is not to say that your teenager will not benefit from spending time with you or other family members. It's important to look at different sources of closeness that the young person can tap into. Family, friends, romantic relationships, sports teams, youth groups, and even their school communities can all provide opportunities for them to experience closeness to others. In the photo here, for example, these boys may not seem to be having a particularly deep or meaningful closeness, but they are engaged with one another. Their bodies are turned towards each other, and they're obviously all interested in what is happening on their phones, whether that's the latest chat in a WhatsApp group or the football scores. There are many things that bring people together. So let's have a think now about ways in which we can encourage our teenagers to do activities which foster closeness to others. What kinds of activities might be appealing to your teenager? Again, you may like to pause the video whilst you think about this. Enjoyment sounds like it should be the easiest area to think of ideas for. After all, teenagers love to have fun, right? However, do bear in mind that when someone is struggling with low mood, they're probably not enjoying the things they used to enjoy. So you might need to be a bit more creative when planning with your teenager ways in which they can start to introduce some of the activities which they enjoy and which give them opportunities to experience some positive feedback in their lives and to their brains. Have a think now for activities which your teenager might enjoy. Remember to start small. Very short, easy activities at first. Don't start with a big family day out. Whilst it's possible to support your teenager with mild low moods, there may unfortunately be circumstances where they're experiencing more difficult symptoms to manage. This may include self-harm, and we would like to spend some time now thinking about how you might act if your teenager was self-harming. Self-harm is, of course, a hugely emotive subject, and before we move on, I just want you to bear in mind your own feelings and thoughts. You may want to take a break before continuing with this part of the webinar, or you may like to give it a miss for now. Unfortunately, we're only able to just touch on this today, but we hope we can give you some ideas and also signpost you as to where you can get more support in this area. I would like us first to think about what self-harm is. What do we think of when we talk about self-harm, and what do we think drives a person to engage in self-harming behaviours? Often when we think about self-harm, our thoughts turn to cutting. It's important to recognise there are many other behaviours which can also be considered self-harm. These might include burning, pulling of hair or eyelashes, punching things, risky behaviours like jumping in rivers, risky sexual behaviours, drug or alcohol abuse, and a whole manner of other harmful behaviours. I would now like to share this video with you, which has been produced by the West Sussex Schools and Colleges Self-Harm Lead. If you click on the picture above, it will take you to the video. So pause this now and go and watch that video and then come back. So do you have any thoughts about that video? Anything you found surprising or anything that really spoke to you in the film? Also, on the same page where you can find that link to the animation, there's also lots and lots of information around how you can support young people with self-harm, and also some links to some webinars which were kind of made to help support professionals, but you might find helpful too. So as the video said, it's important that we respond to teenagers who are self-harming with compassion and calmness. We know that the automatic reaction may be to panic or to become distressed yourself. If you can take time to center yourself before speaking to your teenager, then that is the best way to start the conversation. The way your child reacts when you first speak to them about self-harm may not be the reaction you're expecting. They may shut down or become angry, but equally, many young people feel a great sense of relief when someone discovers they are self-harming. This is often the case I have found with teenagers when they have disclosed self-harm to me. If you're able to get a sense of what is prompting the behaviour, this best places you to be able to help. Is your child being bullied? Are they struggling with their identity? Is there something they're afraid of or worried about? Let your teenager know that you want to help them to find different ways of coping. Try to understand the motivation behind the self-harm. Is it that they get a release from it? Is it a form of self-punishment? Or does it help them to feel something in amongst the numb feeling that can often come with low mood? Together, plan how you can keep them safe. Can the temptation be removed? If your teenager is using sharp objects, what can you do to keep them safe? Remember that just removing the objects without discussion and understanding may just drive them to find other means. Instead, you might want to help them to find ways that they can scratch that kind of need, but in a safe way. Problem solve together with your child to consider if there's anything which can be done about the cause of the self-harm. So, for example, if they're being bullied, what next steps can you take? If they are struggling with a lack of meaning in their lives, think about the ACEs, achievement, closeness, and enjoyment that we discussed earlier. Help your child to make a list of people they can talk to about their feelings. This should include as many people as possible to illustrate to your child that they do have a support network around them. Depending on your child's age, encourage them to talk about feelings, write them down, draw them, have a go at breathing exercises or physical activities as a way to relieve stress and anxiety. Talk to them about coping techniques. These may take the form of distraction, comfort, or doing something which recreates that sense of physical awareness in the body. The Calm Harm app is brilliant for this. The link for this can be found below, and I will go into more detail about it on the next slide. Do not be afraid to reach out to medical professionals for help. Talk to your GP about options. The Calm Harm app is a free to download app which uses the principles of DBT, dialectical behavioural therapy, and it helps young people to find alternative solutions when they feel the urge to self-harm. Those solutions come under 5 different areas which the young person can choose from according to their needs at any particular point in time. So the 6 areas are comfort, distract, express yourself, release, random, and breathe. So the random one's quite helpful if they don't really know what they want. In the description of this video below, you'll find links to all of these resources I've talked about today, as well as links to other resources and areas of support which you may find useful. These include online support as well as real-life sources of support which you or your child is able to access. So to recap on what we've discussed today, it's really important to remember that we all experience periods of low mood from time to time in our lives, and that is normal and nothing to worry about. It can often act as a reminder to us that we need to step back and spend some time taking care of ourselves. We can use these times as opportunities to model our teenagers healthy coping strategies and the importance of putting ourselves first when we need to. However, we should also be aware that if these feelings of sadness or lack of motivation continue for several weeks, then this could be a sign of persistent low mood and we may need to offer more support. It can also be helpful to remember the ACEs, so that achievement, closeness, and enjoyment, helping them to identify small steps that they can take each day to try and incorporate these into our lives. It can help to plan these activities on a weekly planner or calendar and just ask them to put in one short activity per day. Take time to review these activities and ask them how they made them feel and how they might build on them next time. This needs to be something that is done with the teenager, not to them. If your teenager is self-harming or you suspect they might be, the first thing to remember is not to panic. Your child self-harming can be hugely triggering for you, so take time to process your own feelings first. Talk to them about the root of the self-harm. Are they trying to feel something? Is it offering them a relief from pent-up feelings, or do they feel unable to cope with something that's happening in their lives? Try to use practical steps to solve the issue at the root of the self-harming behaviour. Talk together about how you can keep them safe. Accidental injury from self-harm can happen, so how can this risk be reduced? Have a look at the Calm Harm app, which has many alternatives to self-harm behaviours which perform a similar function in the nervous system. Please don't think you're alone. As well as the areas of support you identified at the beginning of the session, also consider other services which may be able to support. In Bognor and North West Crawley, many schools fall under the support of the mental health support team, and our practitioners are able to offer one-to-one CBT-based sessions for children and young people who are experiencing mild to moderate mental health difficulties. Referral to this service is through school, so do speak to a contact at school if you think this might be helpful for you or your child. We're also expanding into other areas of the county in the near future, so do keep an eye on our website to see which areas and schools we will be covering. If you're in West Sussex but your child does not attend a school currently supported by the MHST, the Youth Emotional Support, yes, our West Sussex wide service which works with young people aged 11 to 18, offering several levels of support, including group workshops, short-term one-to-one support and longer interventions where appropriate. Yes can also help with referrals to other services such as YMCA Dialogue, which is a counselling service. West Sussex Mind offer regular webinars for parents around many areas of mental health, all of which are free. The West Sussex Self-Harm Guidance website can be found as part of their local offer and has some excellent resources, including a series of self-harm specific webinars, which, although aimed at school staff, are accessible to all and suggest lots of hands-on practical ways we can support a teenager who is self-harming. The webinars were run by an educational professional who has lived experience of self-harm and so offer valuable insights and innovative strategies. These sessions come highly recommended. The Anna Freud website is a treasure trove of mental health resources and has a massive bank of ideas around self-care, which may help to generate some ideas when you're thinking about ways to build opportunities for achievement, closeness and enjoyment. You can find links to all of these below. As a final thought, I would just like to remind everyone, if you think that your teenager is ever at serious harm of hurting themselves or they have hurt themselves, please do contact your GP, phone 999 or go directly to A&E. We hope you have found this webinar useful and informative. There is one more session in this series in which we will look at how you can look after your own well-being as a parent or carer. We really hope you will access this webinar and take a little time for yourself. Thank you very much. Goodbye.